Hi, everyone. I'm Millie Gillon. I'm the Global Head of Client Experience at Stand Chartered. I'm so excited to join you for this really great event. I hope you learn a lot, not just from what I have to share, but also from what my peers have to share as well. So when you think of client experience, a lot of companies, they immediately jump to NPS. They immediately jump to complaints. But really, it's about building the right experiences for your clients, the memorable experiences. Oftentimes, we do get bogged down with monitoring NPS because it's pretty much the only measurement and metric that's been around for ages and ages. Very antiquated. And I'm sure that we could probably go on and on with a debate or a discussion around why is it so antiquated? Why is it not enough? But essentially, the way that I see it is that it's very rear view mirror facing. And what's most important, especially in today's age, and especially with all of the evolving technology, is to not just only focus on the rear view, but really focus and spend most of your time on the future, the front view. So what do I mean by that? And how are we doing that at Stand Chartered? We created a model of, it's called Five Voices. Kind of sounds like I'm a little schizophrenic going on, but I promise you it's not anything like that. The Five Voices really is around voice of the customer, not something quite new. A voice of the employee, again, not something quite new. Voice of the partner, voice of the benchmark, and voice of the future. So voice of the partner. I really do wholeheartedly believe that the future is all around ecosystems, platforms, partners, and that typical industries such as financial services or other types of very established industries that have been around for ages and ages, even before your parents and my parents and grandparents have been around, those industries will no longer be the superstar or the main character in a movie. Instead, they'll be a supporting actress or actor. And in order to account for that, we need to really understand from an experience perspective, how do we need to adjust? What's going on in trends? What's going on in society? So it's really most important for us to understand what's the voice of the partner. How easy is it to partner with us? How difficult is it to partner with us? The ease around integration, the ease around designing the right experiences. And then voice of the benchmark is really around our competitors. And I don't mean our competitors within the industry, I mean our competitors across industries. Oftentimes, whether or not you realize it as consumers, you're very likely consciously or subconsciously comparing all of your experiences with the best in class experiences that you've ever had, whether that is with Starbucks or SQ or Louis Vuitton or any of these other luxury types of brands. And so whether or not you recognize understanding these types of experiences, your expectations are much higher. So it's very important for us to understand what is the benchmark? Who should we really be comparing ourselves against across industries? Who's best in class? Why are they best in class? And what can we steal with pride? And then the last piece, probably the most important piece, is the voice of the future. And the voice of the future is really looking at trends that help you to craft out, this is what the world will look like in 20 years. And of course, it's going to change. It's going to become clearer. It might pivot because things such as a market crash or a pandemic may happen. But really, the whole point of trends or the future is looking at various signals all around the world and taking into account which one of those signals are getting stronger and stronger and louder and louder. And those signals that become stronger and louder turn into trends. And those trends are the ones that we need to absolutely look at and monitor and adjust for, because it takes time to start to pivot or start to build for those types of trends and for the future. If you are already building for the future now because you saw a trend yesterday, you might already be too late. So the whole point of this Five Voices model is to take into account various insights, a more comprehensive or holistic type of insights to really understand what happened in the past and what is likely going to happen in the future. And what this does, it helps to lead into ROX, return on experience. What is return on experience? It is essentially taking into account what is most important to your customers, as well as what is most important to your business. What is the least costly to invest in? What is going to return the most in terms of your investment? So taking that into account, it helps you to prioritize what to invest in, what to focus on, and how to pivot quickly. And I'm not just saying that you have to home grow everything. Instead, it's to help you strategically think through, what are you best at? What are you not too great at? What can you buy, borrow, build? So you could be most impactful, most efficient to both your end customer and then also to your shareholders and your bottom line. So I hope that this actually helps to frame this entire Future IT Summit in terms of integrating technology to help you understand what are all of the voices of your various stakeholders and customers thinking of, and how that should help you to start to think through, how can I start to frame the future from a technology perspective? How can I incorporate emerging technologies? And how can I future-proof myself, my business, my colleagues, my companies, and my career? So I hope you have a really great time and you learn a lot. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn.
Hi, Millie. That was really awesome. And you just put it right. And the 5-point formula, it's great for all the viewers to learn a little bit more on the customer experience part. And I would like to touch a little bit on all your leadership and various things which SAB speaks, especially Bill, when he speaks about there's so much of technology investments happening at Standard Chartered Bank, but you still don't miss that human touch part. So people like to have that call and, have that advice kind of thing. So kind of hybrid kind of situation for customer experience. Would you like to add a little bit on why you went along that path, and how do you see that as a differentiator for a customer experience, having both technology and a human touch? It would be great to have your views, Millie.
Sure, thank you. So just with the evolution of society, especially because of the pandemic, there's a lot more of a demand for more of a technology or a less of a face-to-face, less of a human touch type of interaction. Make it faster, make it easier, make it self-serve. But at the same time, there's still people who are out there, and there's still scenarios that are out there that requires that human touch. So it's really about finding the right balance for when is the most appropriate types of service delivery. So what we actually do is in hand with technology, as well as the rest of the business, the client experience team, we focus on developing value propositions using human-centered design thinking. So that's essentially putting the customer in the center and then designing around them. Of course, there's more than one customer. So what do we do about that? We do a lot of different types of research methodology to try to understand client insights. And one of the things that we do is take into account the various types of personas or different types of customers. And we design scenarios around each of those customers. And it is most important to me to always have a solutions architect to be on that journey throughout, so that they understand from the business, why are we designing it in this way? Why do we require these certain types of implementations? And what can they not eliminate when they're trying to prioritize things? So that when we come to actually building and executing, then we're preserving that human touch. We're preserving essentially the heart and empathy of the company and for our clients.
Absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying, right? So having a persona with a human touch, and machines are machines, technologies, you still need the human part to make that decisions of at least elite customers and major decisions, right? So great differentiator. Looking forward. Yeah, more of this in your panel and the series to come. Yeah.
This is fantastic, Millie. I think it is very crisp and very well crafted message for the audiences. And before we let you go, would love to ask you that you talked about the ecosystem, you talked about employees and customers and the partners. What do you see as the future of work, especially after this particular situation of pandemic? What is the future of work, and how do you see the role of women in it?
Sure. So future of work, it's so easy for me to say work from home. And quite honestly, I do enjoy working from home, but I didn't realize how much until the last few months I missed coming into the office. My entire team, we all didn't realize that. So now we actively come into the office, we spend more time together, just even if we don't have anything to say, we're just physically around each other. And then we actually take the time to have lunch with each other every single week. So it's sort of like coming to the office dressing up when we don't really need to, just to have lunch with each other. It's the whole human interaction. And I really originally thought that I would be perfectly fine not coming into the office at all. But just with technology, it makes everything so much more flexible. And then in terms of women, I have read a lot of reports around the impact of the pandemic and women and their employability. And it's really extremely disappointing to see some of the statistics. So I'm actually a part of the Employee Experience Council within Standard Chartered, and that's headed by Tanuj, our head of HR, and then Michael Goritz, our CIO. And I really take a lot of pride into that, in the sense that I am the employee's advocate, because they are my customers. My number one customer is employee. My second important customer is the external client. So I really take a lot of pride being a part of this Employee Experience Council, because I get to go and argue on behalf of them. I get to go and preserve their rights and what's just for them, especially now when we're trying to adjust into flexi working and making sure that everything is convenient and flexible. So for example, I actually have this male colleague on my team. He's a new father for the first time. He's a newborn baby. And I told him, I understand that he doesn't have any help at home. It's just him and his wife. And I told him, don't come into the office until your baby is 3 months old, when you can start to sleep train the baby and start to feel a tiny bit more sanity, just tiny bit more. Of course, that doesn't really happen until probably like 20 years later, or maybe never. But Manoj can probably attest to that more than I can. So told him, don't come into the office. I know that you are going to work hard. I trust you. You're an adult. I don't need to babysit you. And if you need to hold your baby, or if you need to nurse your feed your baby while on a call, no judgment whatsoever. And if you have to present to us and your baby is crying in the background, don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel like you have to go tell your baby to shush. I'm a parent. Most of us are parents. We totally understand. He is the most effective, productive, impactful colleague that I have. And that is something that I'm arguing on behalf of my other colleagues, to say, culturally, it needs to be okay and acceptable. There's a baby crying in the background. There's a dog barking. I'm holding a baby. I even have another male colleague who is changing diapers in the middle of meetings during circuit breaker. As silly as that sounds, but now this is how we start them young in the workplace. But I think that it doesn't matter which gender we're talking about here. We need to have this type of acceptance that we're all human.
Yes. I love the part that we should not be talking about the gender. It does not make difference. And it's nice to hear about the male colleague doing things with the baby is interesting. And as they say, that employee satisfaction leads to customer satisfaction. So I think that's a really, really important note. So thank you so much for the keynote and for talking to us and our audiences. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.